So now what we are going to see is the next part, and that is called as the Punnett Square. So a Punnett Square is basically a kind of a schematic diagram to identify that what are the possibilities of, or what are the possibilities of the kind of trait a child can have with the same kind of parent. So a Punnett square is a simple diagram in which the different types of gametes, that is the sex cells, will be concerned traits of one female parent are placed along another one side of the square, and those of the other parent are placed on other side. Then the possible combination genotype of the opposite gametes are given in the subsquares, and the resulting phenotype can be written down under the genotype. So of course, very difficult to understand just by these wordings. What I mean to say is, you are going to have a square like this, wherein you will be having one side over here. Let's consider that this is the male side and this is the female side. So this is the male and the female here. Now male, suppose we see that the male has got the two kind of, suppose the male has got the, he's a tongue roller and homozygous, so he is RR. So he will be having one R over here and another R over here. And suppose the female is a non-tongue roller, that is smaller, so she will be having one R over here and one R over here. So the combination would be, so when the combination takes place between this male and female, the possibility is that they will come over here, this R and this R combining to give you this R and this R combining to give you this R and this R giving you this and this giving you this. So you can see that if a pure homozygous dominant male is fused with a pure homozygous recessive female, then all the babies which could be born, we are not saying that 4 kids will be born. It could be that the 25% chances of this being born, 25% of this being born, 25% of this being born, 25% of this being born. Now you can see all of them are same. Therefore, it is for sure that the baby who will be born by them will be having the genotype as RR. And the phenotype, so if you are talking about tongue rolling over here, they all will be rollers. They all will be tongue rolling because they all are heterozygous dominant. Understood? So in this way you are going to produce what we are calling as a Punnett square. This is a Punnett square. Now let's take the Punnett square of that particular family what we've seen over there. So we saw that the male was a smaller bigger, even the female was a smaller bigger, and hence the Punnett square would be like this, that this is a possibility, this is another possibility, this is another possibility, and the last possibility is this one. So you can see that due to that the male was a roller, the female was a roller, this 1, 2 and 3 will be rollers. So you can see what is the genotype now. Now genotype you will always write in the form, and it will be homozygous dominant first, then heterozygous dominant next, and lastly will be, sorry, this is heterozygous dominant, and then lastly will be homozygous recessive. So accordingly it will be 1:2:1. This is the genotypic ratio. Genotypic ratio of this particular mix will be that there will be 1 homozygous dominant, 2 heterozygous dominant, and 1 homozygous recessive. What will be the phenotype? The phenotype will be either rolling or non-tongue rolling. So rolling kitne honge? 1, 2, 3. There will be 3 who will be rolling and only 1 possibility of being a non-tongue roller. So it is seen that over here, that girl who was a non-tongue roller was a 25% chances of that female being a non-tongue roller. So this is that particular 25% chances over here. So she was under this 25% chance, whereas the other boy and the girl who were tongue rollers were from the 75% chances of the type of progeny which can be born, of the type of child which can be born. So you can see that we can have certain kind of Punnett square made of the different parents, so that we can identify that what could be the resultant child characteristics. So we see the what is written about the Punnett square once again. So Punnett square is a simple diagram in which the different types of gametes, that is sex cells with the concerned trait of one female parent, are placed along one side of the square. So one female parent is made, the sex cells are placed on one side of the square. And those of the other parent male are placed along the other side. So the male are placed on the other side. So one side of the square is the female, one side of the square is the male. Then the possible combination of the opposite gametes are given in the subsquare. So this subsquare gives the combination of this two. This subsquare gives the combination of this two. This subsquare gives the combination of this two. And this subsquare gives the combination of this two. Accordingly, we will be having 4 subsquares for this particular thing, and this complete thing is called as a Punnett square. The resulting phenotype can be written under the genotype. So, resulting phenotype. So, you can see this is what is the resulting phenotype? The resulting phenotype, all are rollers. Over here, what is the phenotype? There are 3 rollers and 1 non-roller. So, this is how we see. Over here, now there are certain dominant recessive forms of some common hereditary traits. Is eyes normally brown is a dominant, whereas blue is recessive. Tongue rolling is dominant, recessive is non-rolling. Hand right-handedness is a dominant trait, left-handedness is recessive. Earlobes free is dominant, whereas if it is attached, if it is connected over here, it is recessive. Lips thick is dominant, thin is recessive. RH blood group positive is dominant, recessive is negative. Color vision, that is normal, is dominant. Color blindness is recessive. And the cheeks are dimpled cheeks are dominant, and normal is recessive, which is again something which is normally not seen. So we can see that it is a recessive trait which is followed maximum in the cheeks kind of a thing. So some rather uncommon hereditary traits are the polydemy, that is extra fingers and the toe, they are dominant part, which is actually very rare. So this is again one thing. Albinism, total absence of the skin, is recessive. And there is camptodactyly, that is inability to straighten the little finger. So they cannot straighten the little finger, is dominant. So there is something which is unique. Now, so over here, you can also see that they have taken up the example of a family of earlobes free and attached. So you can see that there are one male and one female who both have got a dominant character, and accordingly there will be the 3 things, that is one male who is recessive, one female who is recessive, and so this one, 2 daughters are dominant and 1 son is dominant, and 1 son and 1 daughter are recessive. So accordingly you know that this 2 will be heterozygous, okay, because both are there. Here all of them are recessive, means they both are recessive trait. The Punnett square will be something like this, that if I draw Punnett square for this one, it will be R, 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 and accordingly everything over here is smaller, 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 smaller. So because both the parents were non-tongue rolling, hence all the kids are non-tongue rolling, because non-tongue rolling is a recessive trait. If this male and this female both are non-tongue rolling, all the kids they will be having will be non-tongue rolling only. So this is the kind what is given for with the help of Punnett square or with the help of the pedigree chart. Now it is seen that, so also let's take one more example, and that is about the formation of a baby. So in the formation of a baby also, let's see that what is the possibility of having a male child and having a female child. Whether there is a possibility that, okay, the maximum number of people would be males and maximum will be females or anything like that. Let's check out this thing. So first thing is that if I take a male, the male has got an X and a Y. So this is the male who has got an X and a Y. The female who has got a X and an X. So accordingly, the Punnett square what will be formed over here will be such that there is a possibility of a male child or female child here, a possibility of male child here, a possibility of female again here, and a male over here. So you can see the chances of a boy and a girl is both 50% each. So that's the reason that normally the population is always such that 50% will be males and 50% will be female. So it is not, of course there are certain changes taking place, or there may be their ratio is slightly up and down, but otherwise by nature it is such that the 50% chances are that it is a male child and 50% chances that it is a female child. Now when we talk about this, what happens is there are certain kind of diseases which are going to be attached only to the X cell, and certain kind of diseases which are attached to only the Y chromosome of the male. So if any particular kind of a condition or disease is such that it affects the X chromosome of male or female, then we call them as the sex-linked chromosome. It is the sex-linked inheritance. So sex-linked inheritance is the appearance of a trait which is due to the presence of an allele exclusively either on a X chromosome or a Y chromosome. So when it is a sex-linked disease, like for example, if we talk about pattern baldness, it is going to be there only on the Y chromosome. Hence, only the males have the tendency of becoming bald. There is no possibility of a female becoming bald because it's a Y-linked chromosome which has that particular kind of a trait. Y doesn't have, a female doesn't have a Y, hence for her to become bald is not possible by heredity. Okay, that may be some kind of other disease which is taking place, it's a different case, but the pattern baldness what we normally see is only in males, whereas color blindness or sickle cell anemia or hemophilia are diseases which are X-linked. So when it is X-linked, then it could take place to males also or females also. So accordingly they are called as sex-linked inheritance. First what we see is a X-linked inheritance. Certain disorders caused due to the heredity such as hemophilia and color blindness are more common in males than in females. Such defects are due to recessive genes which occur on the X chromosomes. You can check if you are normal or colorblind by reading the numbers. Okay, that's not required. So hemophilia is a genetic disorder in which the sufferer, that is homozygous recessive female, and the recessive X-bearing male are at a risk of bleeding to death because the blood fails to clot in them. So hemophilia is a kind of a disease in which the platelet count is not so high, and that's the reason the platelets nahi hone karan they are going to have bleeding which does not stop, because platelets are the one which are helping in the blood clotting. So if they are having this problem of no clotting agent, automatically they would bleed to death. That's why hemophilia is something which is X-linked chromosome. Rare case of hemophilic males do occur, but practically none of the hemophilic females do take place. Now this is something unique, that why do females do not have hemophilia? So we can understand it in this particular manner. So such cases explain the sex-linked X chromosome inheritance. So let's see some examples over here in a Punnett square form so that we can understand this thing much better. So let's consider that there is one colorblind father. Okay, so we'll have a father who is colorblind. So let's take the first condition, that so because he is colorblind, he is having a defect in his X chromosome. So his X chromosome makes we will put a circle or maybe C or something we can write over here to indicate that he is a sufferer of the disease. Whereas the female over here, she is, so he is the male and we'll always take the male over here and female over here, so I need not write it again and again. So the resultant over here will be such that there will be possibility of one x and x0 over here, other x and x0 over here, xy over here, and xy over here. So you can see, who is this? A female. A female who is going to be a carrier of color blindness. But is she colorblind? No. She is not colorblind, because this x over here, the good x, is going to superimpose on the bad x, and accordingly the two females who will, the daughters will be there. So daughters jo hai yahan pe, these daughters are carriers but not colorblind. And the males, the XY over here, they are normal. They are not colorblind and they are normal. So even if the male person, that is the father, was colorblind, he has not imparted his colorblindness to his progeny, to his children, because the mother was not a carrier, or she was absolutely normal. That's why the children which will be born will be absolutely normal children. They won't be colorblind. No doubt the females over here will be the carriers. Now suppose, let's consider that this female over here, she is going to have her babies. So she will be having something like this, and the male whom the mating is taking place is a normal one. Then what happens? This will be x0x, this will be x0y, xx, and xy. So here you see, this gives rise to, again, female carrier, normal girl, normal boy, but this unfortunate child will be a male who is colorblind. So one male child can be colorblind over here. Got it? Why did this happen? Because the male gave his good Y, but there was nothing to superimpose the colorblind X with anybody else. Hence, the boy who was born over here was born colorblind. Did you understand this? So you can see that if the male is colorblind, then he will not have any kind of effect on his babies if the female is not a carrier. So let's consider the third option, that is the mother, the father is colorblind and mother is a carrier. And if both these things are present, in such a case it would happen that x0, x0, x0y, x0 and xy. So in such a case it may happen that this is the only case, the case where the father is a colorblind and the mother is a carrier of a colorblind, then only there could be a female who could be colorblind. So the chances of female being colorblind in all these options was only one small thing. But in this case, she is just a carrier and this boy can be colorblind over here. So the possibility of boy being colorblind could be in this case as well as this case, whereas the girl being colorblind is only in this case. So the chances of the female being colorblind is very, very, very rare, but the chance of the male being colorblind is quite high. So this same thing, not only colorblindness, it could also implement to hemophilia or sickle cell anemia. All the X-linked inheritance can have this kind of a problem. Okay, so this kind of a Punnett square is very, very important to identify that what will be the condition of the progeny if there will be a colorblind male and a normal mother, or a normal father with a carrier mother, or both colorblind, or of course, yeah, a colorblind father with a carrier mother, Of course, if both are colorblind, then definitely it is going to be a difficult situation, because everybody will be thinking, like for example, if it is this way, x0y and x0x0, when both are colorblind, then definitely what is going to happen is x0x0, x0y, x0x0 and x0y. So all of them, if the mother and father both are colorblind, then definitely all the kids will also be colorblind. Okay, this is the condition it shows. x0x0 colorblind girl, x0x0 colorblind girl, x0y colorblind boy, x0y colorblind boy. So if mother and father both are colorblind, then definitely there is no way that the child who is born cannot be colorblind. He or she will definitely be colorblind. So accordingly, the Punnett square helps us to talk about the different kinds of possibilities of the progeny which could be produced by a couple. So thinking of the possibility of marriage between the carrier and the male, you can work out the different kinds of Punnett squares can be formed, and accordingly you can identify this pair. So criss-cross inheritance, that is, there's this particular kind of inheritance also has a criss-cross. The inheritance of X-linked genes, as in colorblindness and hemophilia, is also called as criss-cross inheritance. That means फादर अगर ये है तो उसके कारण फीमेल कैरियर हुई, अगर मदर है तो मेल होगा, राइट, कलर ब्लाइंड होगा. सो यू कैन सी दिस इज मेल affecting the female and female affecting the male. So this is why it is called as a criss-cross inheritance. This is because the son may get it from the otherwise normal but carrier mother, and the colorblind father may pass it to the daughter, making her colorblind if the mother is colorblind, or carrier if the mother is normal. So this is nothing but Punnett square. I was just something else. So this was about the Punnett square over here. We will go to the next part, that is Mendel's experiment of inheritance. Okay, I'll better stop for today and continue this chapter in my next video, that will be next week for bio. So next Friday or next Saturday, I will just have the next video for bio, in which we'll be covering the Mendel's experiment of inheritance and talk about the laws of inheritance of this particular chapter. So this was, you can just go through the textbook once again in this thing, and if you are in doubts, you can ask me.